Hey, this is Rob Anspach. I'm with Lisa Kennedy, a brilliant realtor down in Sarasota, Florida. And today we're going to talk about her adventures, why she started in real estate, and how you can copy what she's doing to increase your business. So welcome, Lisa.
Thank you so much, Rob, for having me today. I'm super excited.
I love the hair.
Thank you.
Is that like a trademark?
It is now. I did it before I got married in May of this year, and it kind of stuck, and now it is my trademark. Yes, you are right.
So what got you into real estate? Because I know around where I live in Lancaster, Pennsylvania, which is mostly known for the Amish. People get into real estate and they do it for a couple of years and then they get disgruntled and leave. What was your reasoning?
Well, interestingly enough, before we started this call, you were talking about martial arts and how you just bought your children's studio. And if I could take it back one step, I was in corporate America for 15 years in medical sales, veterinary medical sales, and with the company for 9.5 years. And I got the quintessential, you can either take another job on the East Coast, or here's a severance package for you. So I knew in that moment, and I was blindsided, by the way, so I knew in that moment that I was going to do something different. I was like, I'm done with this industry altogether. And coincidentally, my Krav Maga instructor and my children's martial arts instructor approached me and said, so what are you going to do, Lisa? And I said, I'm not sure yet. I just want to take the summer off and spend a couple months with my girls and not have to worry about anything else, just spend some quality time with my family. And he said, well, I'm starting a real estate team. How about, you're in sales. Sales is sales is sales. Why don't you get your real estate license and join my team? That was about 3 years ago.
Wow.
So that's how I got into it.
So what makes you different as a realtor than other people that are out there doing it?
That's an awesome question. And a lot of what I have learned came from the sales training that I learned in medical sales. So I think over a period of time of doing sales and having the correct training, a lot of it comes by nature, but it wasn't until I started following Grant Cardone 18 months ago that I really, really propelled my sales game in the direction that I finally wanted to go.
So what makes Grant Cardone different than other people? Because, is it, I've looked at him and I guess it's my personality against his personality. And some of the things I really like, some of them I don't, but I think everybody has to have that one person that really makes a difference in what they're doing.
Yeah. It was something that I became obsessed with him because I saw him. Periscope launched, I believe, in April of 14. Is that correct? Something like that, April or May. And I caught him on Periscope and I was like, who is this guy? He's telling me that I can have everything. I can have, I can be successful, not just in my career, but in my marriage, in my, I wasn't married at the time, but in my relationship and with my children, like having it all. And I became obsessed with that. And his first webinar that he did, I believe it was Millions on the Phone. And as you know, in real estate, not many real estate agents like to pick up the phone. So it never bothered me, but it just made me want to do it even more. So, 50 calls a day, then 100 calls a day. And I just became entrenched in all of his free content. And then I invested in his Cardone University. And I started doing that 20 or more minutes a day. And it just became, just like brushing my teeth. I have to do my Cardone University. It's part of it. And, just like in real estate, prospecting is part of your day. And you can't let anyone ruin those couple hours of your day because it's so important to build your pipeline. And I don't think many real estate agents learn that way. They take their test. They say, I want to be a real estate agent. It looks so much fun, but they don't really know what it takes. And it takes a lot of time of things that you don't really want to do. I mean, showing houses is great. Making sales is great, but it's the back end stuff that makes the difference.
Let's talk about that. I mean, because 50 calls a day, 100 calls a day can be mind numbing. I mean, how do you get past that? Because you're going to get through a lot of no's before you get to a yes.
Yeah, yeah. I think you become immune to it. It's a math game. So I know if I'm going to make 100 calls a day, that probably I'm going to speak to about 10 people. So when I'm on that 90th call or 99, I'm like, not that I want to quit, but I know at that point that I've already achieved success in some sort of way, whether it's a conversation or a yes, or quite frankly, to weed people out. I mean, that's half of the reason why you make these calls, to disqualify people.
Yeah, I mean, disqualification, I think it helps in every industry, because you really want to get down to that one person that's going to make all the difference. I mean, if you're selling $1 million home and 95% of the people you call just can't afford it, but you know that one person can, isn't it
Yeah.
worth it?
Yeah. Yeah. And some people, currently right now I work for a design build firm. So a lot of the people I've met, they're warm leads, I would say. Maybe they've come in the model at one point or another in the past couple of years, and I call them and I say, hey, you were in the model, 6 months ago or 3 months ago. Where are you at in your process right now? And they want to talk about it, especially if they're interested in the product. It just isn't the right timing. People love to talk about themselves and what they have planned, and this is what I want. So being a good listener when you finally do get that person is imperative.
Now, do you cross the people off the list, or do you keep them on a warm list and remind them every month?
I never throw any name away, but they're in different cycles of my CRM, my client management system. So there might be folks that aren't retiring for 5 years, but I'm still going to probably touch base with them every 3 to 6 months if they're 5 years out. And if they're 3 years out, I'll probably touch them a little bit more often than that.
Now, there are realtors, or there are people that get into the real estate business constantly. The turnaround, and I'm sure that there's people who have gotten into it after you've joined, and they've gotten, and they left.
Yeah.
What advice can you give these people? Because, you were in that position at one time, maybe struggling.
Yeah.
But you seem to have, everything smooth sailing right now.
Rob, is everything really smooth sailing? I don't know. No, I mean, I'm blessed, truly. I am. And it's one of the biggest things is family support, because essentially you are running your own company. You're not having to lean on anyone for, a paycheck, really. It's all about your efforts. So I believe that not only your family support, but those around you, surrounding yourself with those that want to do the same. But as far as giving advice, finding a mentor, like not necessarily someone that says, yeah, you can, come along and follow me wherever I go, or shadow, but just observe. There's so many successful people and successful agents around. You observe their actions, behavior, and occasionally, yeah, I asked some for coffee and I got no's for that because they're too busy for a new real estate agent that's just starting out. I get those calls occasionally, and I try to qualify them. I'm like, okay, well, what have you done? What have you done so far? And most times it's really nothing. So you got to have a plan, right? So you got to, and I talk about this in my book. You have to prepare, right, financially if you're going to make that leap. Because it will take a year. It's going to take a year to make any kind of money as a real estate agent, in the grand scheme of things, for most people, right? If they don't quit.
And the thing is that, as you're writing your book, you also know that there's other real estate books out there. Mm-hmm. How is your story different than theirs? Because a lot of those books out there just seem to be pushing an agenda, pushing a seminar, pushing a, whatever they are selling. And here you're probably giving more advice on how you do it, why people need to believe in you, mm-hmm. what's going on in the market. So what's going to be different in yours? Well,
no one can tell my story like I can, right? So there's a lot of books out there, like you said, that have certain agendas. There's really, there may be an offer or two in my book, but really I get joy in seeing other agents being successful. I mean, in every aspect, not just real estate agents, you, yourself, my friends, you know, people that do follow Grant Cardone. And, you know, it's really important to talk about our wins of the day and of the week and things like that. So there is pleasure in being able to help someone in some way. I'm just using Grant as an example again. I mean, he'll tell you any day of the week that if someone writes him and says, I've been using the Cardone University and I've increased my sales by 75,000 because of it. I mean, that's a feeling of huge gratitude, even though they invested in him. But it's, yeah, I think it's a part of humanity that we don't really have enough of. I mean, I share my story because I struggled. And I struggled with the pain of having to leave a 9-to-5 job. And what do I do now? And how do I support my family? And, you know, there were successes, but it's those struggles that really, I've wanted to write a book for a long time because of things and events that have happened in my life, but now it just seems like the right time because there's so many real estate agents that aren't doing it the right way. Not to say that my way is the right way, but if it can help a couple people, that's fantastic. I mean, I was talking to a member of, he's actually the head of the Sarasota Manatee Real Estate Association, and there are over 6,000 real estate agents just in Sarasota and Manatee. So 2 counties in, you know, 2 cities, which is mind-boggling when you think about it.
Yeah, that's a lot of competition for any area.
Yeah.
You know, and the thing is that you stated that, you know, you went from a 9-to-5 job, you know, to being a realtor, and now you're probably working a lot of weekends, a lot of evenings. So how do you balance that with your family?
Yeah, I don't know if balance is even in my vocabulary anymore, but it's sacrifice, really. Well, since I've been with the design build firm, I've probably had maybe 10 weekends off in 2.5 years. It's part of it. It's part of giving up one thing for another. And, you know, there is a benefit to having a Friday off and a Monday off. A lot of times I'll have Mondays and Fridays off. So, but people want to buy houses on the weekends. They want to look at houses on the weekends. So it is part of it. And that's another sacrifice that I don't think people want to give up. And you know, I have 2 girls. They're 9.5 and 11, and a lot of times they don't understand. So you probably know, Rob, you have kids, 6, I believe, right? Mm-hmm. You know, I try to rationalize and say, hey, you know what? It's okay. I'm not going to be able to go to the beach with you this weekend, but guess what? I can come to lunch with you. I can pick you up from school, and then we can go have an ice cream. So I just have to turn it around in a way that is good, because not working weekends is the norm, right? But my kids already know I'm not the norm. So I just have to instill in them that it's still quality. It's not quantity of the time that I spend with them.
You know, but out of all the competition that you have, I bet you're probably only one of a handful of people that have embraced social media, have embraced Snapchat, mm-hmm. have embraced video the way you have, and I think that's probably, you know, one reason why you're as successful as you are.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, and it, again, goes back to getting attention. I knew when I saw Grant Cardone and many other people. I mean, there are a lot of people out there, celebrities that are using social media to their advantage. But for those of us that aren't celebrities, it's about getting attention. So if you're everywhere, if you're omnipresent, right? People are like, I've seen her, she's everywhere. That's what you want, right? So, and then you'll get some people saying, oh, Snapchat's for kids, and, you know, why are you doing these memes with you on it? And, you know, those are the people that look at me or yourself and say, well, I can't do that, so I'm just going to make fun of them for doing it.
You know, what is the average age of people buying homes in your area?
Average age is 55. But we do have some young families that are preparing for their future. So either they're buying it as a second home to be their forever home. That's the typical situation. But then you'll just have, young professionals with young children. I mean, I would say it's a small percentage, but when you're talking $1 million and over, that's just kind of how it is, with the ages. And I had a client 2 months ago that was 72 years old and decided to build a house. So it really ranges, but I'd say between 55 and 60, Rob.
What are the average of the homes that you're selling right now?
Average is 1.2. I would say that our smallest home we build is about 2,400 square feet. You can probably build that for around 600,000 in this area. So we're south of Tampa down to Venice, Punta Gorda. I don't know if you're familiar with the area, but call it a 2-hour radius for building.
Nice.
Yeah, and it's custom homes, remember, too. So the process is a little bit longer. It's about 15 months to build a custom home.
So there's still a lot of land left in Sarasota to build custom homes.
There is, and I'm glad you brought that up, because there is also several opportunities for what we call teardowns, because Siesta Key, Longboat Key, those are places that were kind of a secret up until about 3 years ago. The beaches are beautiful. You're an hour from Tampa, 45 minutes to an hour to Tampa, an hour and a half to Orlando, 3 hours to Miami. And it's just kind of, it's got a lot of culture. Sarasota has a lot of culture, and Ringling Brothers, the circus was sort of developed here. So there's a lot of history about that, even though I'm not really a circus fan, but a lot of history, a lot of culture, and people gravitate towards it because it's not like the East Coast of Florida. It's just a different feel. I don't really know how to describe it, but it's a different feel.
So, my first rodeo that I ever saw was down in Florida. So I think that Florida has a lot to offer people. Mm-hmm. I think, what scares them away is the tropical hurricanes.
Yeah, I never understood that, Rob.
But I think that, a lot of people go to Florida because it's warmer. Yeah. I think it's just an easier climate to deal with. Mm-hmm. So when you're marketing, these homes, what's some of the things that you include in your marketing to make it, not to make it more compelling, but to make you more trustworthy?
Oh, that's a really good question. To make me more trustworthy. Well, other than, the great things to do, like the beaches and the theme parks and whatnot, I've personally lived here for 10 years. I moved to Florida when I was 21 years old. That was one of my aspirations when I was a teenager, because I came to visit my grandparents all the time. So I moved to Florida when I was 21 and then traveled around a little bit, and then ultimately ended back here in '05, and specifically Lakewood Ranch, which is a master plan community, for 10 years. So I think just my personal experience living here, our motto is live, work, play. So you can truly do everything here without having to, drive far and really have that sense of community. So I think when people relate to you on that personal level, then they trust you to some degree. And I think that and working out of a model home, you kind of get to know that person, even if it's for a 5-minute time period, and try to earn their trust that way, and not being a shark is what I say, not asking those shark questions like, how big of a home do you want? How much do you want to spend? You want to connect with the person, like, hey, how are you doing today? And look them in the eye and maybe give them a compliment and find that commonality. Like today, I found someone that used to live in Maine, which is where I was born and raised. So automatically, they trust me. They know I'm from Maine. So I think it's just finding that common thing between you and your buyer.
Yeah, tell me the difference between a design build agent and a realtor.
Yeah, that's a great question. So a design build firm is actually an organization that has the capabilities of doing your architectural drawings for you, that also has a design center, a purchase department, and essentially everything soup to nuts. So they don't have to go to granite yards and look for their countertops. You know, we have a 4,000 square foot design center that allows our clients, after we do their drawings, to walk through and pick out thousands, and I mean thousands, of different finish levels, from granite to flooring, to exterior, you know, anything on the outside of your house. I mean, it's really, really a complex process, to build completely custom and to be involved with a design build firm. And it's the best value, to be quite frankly, and versus, you know, a regular real estate, or I call them general real estate agents, which is what I was when I first started. They can they can work with buyers to buy homes, and they can also work with folks to list their homes. And in that role, you deal with inspections, appraisals, you know, you wear all these different hats. Whereas I just work with buyers at the moment, and I help them build their custom dream home, essentially.
So you're bypassing a lot of the stress, I believe.
Yeah, you know, there's a different kind of stress, you know, when you're building a home for somebody, because remember, it's an emotional purchase, right? It's the biggest purchase of most people's lives, any home, really, and all being relative. So if you're spending $1 million and, you know, you're not quite sure about the flooring of the home, you know, there's a lot of changing of the minds, if you will. Mm-hmm. You know, am I making the right decision? You know, and that's part of what we do with our designers, our interior designers. We have 4 on staff that help our clients through the process, because not everybody is super creative, let's face it. You know, they need help. So that's part of our service as a design build firm.
You know, there's a lot of services out there that'll build your home, at least here, you know, in Pennsylvania where I am. But I don't think that they have the design capabilities. And I think that's probably what makes your service better, especially for people that are relocating into Florida.
Yeah.
They want, you know, something that's one stop. You know, they write one check, it's all done.
Right. That's exactly right. And there are other builders out there. However, I don't think that a lot of them have the power to provide a designer. I mean, sure, they can build you a custom home at a lower price, but you're going to be doing more work for it. You know, it will be more stress on the client if, you know, they can't figure out what type of finishes they want, or maybe if they get surprised later on down the line and something wasn't in their contract that they really wanted, and bam, that's a $50,000 change order charge. And that's something that we try to avoid in a design build firm versus someone that, you know, just owns a construction company that builds a house. Sometimes we'll joke about it, like there are builders out there that will build you a great house, but they really don't know how the operation, you know, works congruently together when you put all those complexities together with design and money and, you know, the sales part. And hey, what if, you know, I've just decided my parents are moving down and I want to do an upstairs on the house, you know, all these things that come up. And I think we have the ability to do that and make the process flow.
So if I were to move down to Florida and I wanted to build a home, what's the process that you would walk a client through?
Yeah, that's a great question. I'm going to try to make it somewhat easy and short. So typically, a lot of folks have already been on the website before, so they'll see the quality of our construction. We do have, 30 years experience as well. So that's helpful. The reputation is helpful, but you come down and say you know nothing about my design build firm, and I say, okay, Rob, where do you want to be? Do you want to be near the water? Do you want to be in a master plan community? So we decide on a piece of property. That gets done. You would close on that piece of property probably within 45 days. Well, during that 45 days, you're in our design center. We're making plans for you, and you literally have a wish list. I want a man cave with a pool table with a 70-inch TV on this wall. I want crown molding. I want a nice gourmet kitchen with a wine bar and an area that I can prepare if I want to entertain type thing. So it's literally a list like that. We do the plan for you, sit back down, and you say, you know what? I think this room's a little bit too small. Let's make it bigger. So it's about starting top of the funnel and then coming down and getting it fine-tuned, and then coming up with a price up front that we both agree on, that's fair, right? So, Rob, it's gonna be 1.1 million, and here's every single thing in your house, right down to the faucets, right down to the fixtures and the knobs on your kitchen cabinets. So, and we sign, and from that point forward, you would be with one of our designers in our design center, you and your wife or your family, whoever is doing this project with you. And you'd be meeting with vendors, landscape, appliances, picking out your finishes. Hey, I like that granite and I like that quartz and I want wood flooring all throughout. And so that process from time of signing till we actually start your house is about 5 to 6 months. Because once your process is done, we get the purchase orders and then we can go to permitting. And a lot of times permitting can be challenging when you're on the water and having to deal with flood zones and whatnot, but that's a whole nother realm of construction. But after that, then we just sort of build your house, and you would pay us in 6 draws. So 10% down, 4 draws of 20%, and then a final draw of 10%, and your house would be finished in about 15 to 18 months.
Nice, nice. I don't need a house right now, but when I do.
Yeah, planning ahead. You know, a lot of folks will say, well, maybe we're starting the process too early. And I always tell people it's never too early to plan your dream house. I mean, it's fun. And one of the things that's super helpful for us is, you know, start your Pinterest page, start your house page. You know, I'm a big believer in visualization. So I have dream boards and vision boards in my house, and I always encourage people to do the same. They might not be able to have everything they want based on a budget, but, you know, it's a great start.
Well, let's talk about your dream board. What is on it?
Well, I always talk about the one from the year before last, because that's the year that I transitioned into real estate. And I wrote it at the beginning of the year, and I had cut out stuff from magazines. I had written stuff, and I don't have it here. I apologize. They're hanging in my office, and I'm working on my vision board for 2017 at the moment. But my why, my children are always in the middle. And then I surround that with maybe trips that I want to take, things that I want to accomplish. And one of the things I put up there, I literally cut out of a local paper, $1.9 million real estate sale. And I had had my license maybe 2 months. And I put that on there. And the following December of that year, I sold a $1.89 million house, which is the highest house that I've sold so far in the 3 years I've been in real estate.
So the dream boards really help.
They work. And yeah, I could go on to tell you more, but this year I was doing a Periscope with one of my mentors, Danelle Delgado. And I said, I'm going to meet you. We are going to spend some time together. And I wrote it while she was doing her Periscope. And 4 months later, I was on a personal development retreat with her in St. Martin.
It's funny because, you know, I'm 47, and I can remember going back to when I was probably in 2nd grade, and the teacher would say, you know, get these cork boards out and put all the pictures of the things that you want to have when you grow up. And we'd be ripping apart magazines. And it's like for 30 years, I didn't even think about it. And then all of a sudden, you know, everybody's talking about dream boards. And I'm like, really? The stuff I did when I was in 2nd grade? And they're like, yeah. And I'm like, oh, okay, whatever. You know, and now, you know, it helps focus your brain on what you want to accomplish or what you need to accomplish. And, you and I think that every person, that whether they're buying a home, selling a home, they need to have a dream board. They need to know, what the next step in life is going to be. So if they're selling a home, are they going to buy a new home? Are they going to buy a boat? What are they going to do?
Mm-hmm.
And if everybody has that dream board, they're going to kind of put themselves in the right mindset to move forward.
Yeah. I couldn't agree with you more. A lot of folks, they'll have the vision of retirement, but what is retirement?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, what is it to you? Is it being on the golf course 5 days a week? Is it volunteering your time somewhere? I mean, there's more to retiring than just retiring.
Hey, I consider myself retired. I mean, I work from home. I write books. I coach people. But, I owned a company for 20 years, and I killed myself. I was out of the home, 15 hours a day, and now I just have the luxury of going where I want, when I want, how I want, and I'm making more money doing it.
Yeah. And how does that make you feel when you get up in the morning?
Oh, sometimes I only sleep 5 hours, but it's fantastic because I know that I can take my laptop and cell phone and go anywhere and I'm still making money.
That is so awesome.
And I think that that's what every entrepreneur needs to realize, is that they're not a slave to a time. Even though you're busy right now, even though you're helping your clients, when your passion is helping others,
Mm-hmm.
time has no meaning.
That's exactly right. Yeah. And it's powerful. And it wasn't until, oh gosh, I think it was 2011 or 2012 when I first joined my very first multi-level marketing company, was when I really understood that mindset of, if you help people, then, how's that saying go? If you help people get what they want, you'll get what you want.
Mm-hmm.
And that's when I really experienced it firsthand. I mean, I was with Visalis for 5 years and helping one of my veterinarians that I was calling on at the time. She lost 100 pounds on the product I was selling. And it was really emotional because I was really I was changing someone's life, literally. She lost a person, so I discovered the meaning of really, truly helping people, later on in my life. So I hope that anyone that's listening, all these millennials that are out there, that they really see the value in helping others. It's not about the watches and the cars and all of that. It's truly about helping people, and all the rest will come later.
I truly believe that. And the thing is the more people I help now, the more opportunities come my way.
Yeah.
How do you position yourself as that go-to gal when it comes to design build? I mean, I know that you're doing the social media stuff, and you got your branded hair design there, and you got the killer smile. But I mean, how do people know that they need to go to you?
I think I've developed a pretty great relationship with a portion of the 6,000 real estate agents, because what they're going to do, they're going to get a client, people that work for Michael Saunders, Sotheby's, Keller Williams, they're going to get a client because they've met me or seen me somewhere. They're going to be like, oh, this person, my client wants to spend $1 million and they want a custom home. I don't really think there's anyone in my space that's doing what I'm doing. Like you said, with real estate. But I think there's comfort in knowing that I have to, even though I've been doing this a very short time, I really, really learned fast. I was forced to learn fast. I was forced to learn, like, here you go. I was forced. And that's almost better than being trained, because you learn along the way and you make a couple mistakes, but sometimes they're pretty big mistakes. You're like, I'm never doing that again. So I think it's knowledge in the industry. It does help winning awards for a couple of years in a row for your performance. You get known for that too. But it's relationships, Rob. Having relationships, reaching out to these agents for nothing, saying, hey, you know what? You brought a client in here a year ago, and I was just checking in with you to see how you're doing. How's business for you? And not really calling for anything, just calling to say hello and just cultivating.
Let's talk about your mistakes. Can you share any?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. Honestly, I'll be honest. My very first real estate sale, I was with a general real estate company with my mentor, who turned out not to be the greatest mentor, which is kind of why I left. But that relationship dissolved. But again, there was a reason why it dissolved. And I had a client at the time, and she had signed a buyer's agreement, which is something that I feel very strongly about. It's a commitment. And most agents don't do it, to be honest. It's a piece of paper that you come to me and you say, hey, I want to move to Florida, blah, blah, blah. And I say, okay, great. So you're committed? They say, yeah, I'm committed. I'm like, great, sign this. And there's people that won't sign it because they don't want to be committed. So I'm not going to commit to you if you're not going to commit to me. Well, I did have this form signed my very, very first sale. And sure enough, my clients went out without me, called me on my birthday, November 30th, 3 years ago, and said, we want to go to this property today. And I had plans for like a hotel and all the stuff lined up. I had taken the day off. So I canceled all that. And I said, all right, well, I'm going to go ahead and meet you there. So I met them there, and they ended up purchasing that piece of property, which was great. The mistake that I made is that I didn't keep in close contact with them throughout their build. Their build took about 8 months, but I was so busy with my own stuff, transitioning from, doing general real estate to a design build, that I neglected my clients. And she wrote me a letter saying, because she didn't know it was my first sale. So she wrote me a letter saying, I really expected you to be with us during the process, and you weren't. And that's a really bad feeling. So I have learned something huge from that. And people want to have their hand held. And I didn't know. I sold the house. I had showed them houses in the beginning, but you can't miss the middle. You can't just be there to show them houses and then do the contract and then the end of the house. You got to, they wanted someone to be with them in their design center, the process, and I missed that. So that was one of the biggest mistakes I made.
What about after the sale? What do you do after they've moved into their home that you've helped them get into, you help them build? Do you just stop in? Do you send cards? I mean, how do you keep that relationship going?
Yeah, so it depends on the person, honestly. A lot of folks won't want to not continue the relationship, but the folks that are buying $1 million homes, they're busy. A lot of times they're not here. They're traveling. It's their second home. I mean, obviously, I send them a gift, and I try to be original with that. I do send them, a card. I call them occasionally. We do. I do ask, hey, whenever you're ready, can I come over and see your new home after it's finished and whatnot. It's a little bit different than general real estate. I must say, there's a certain, and maybe I haven't figured it out yet, Rob. I'm not quite sure, but there's a certain element, especially when someone's spending $1 million and over, that I don't feel. I'm not going to say that. There's just a certain element. Like I do my part, and I just think people just get caught up. But I do have some clients that continue to come in the model. Hey, we love our house. Our friends are moving down here. We're going to bring them in here. You think you can talk them into it? So I get referrals like that more so than I do saying, hey, come see my house. I have more referrals by saying, hey, here's Lisa. She sold us our house, and we have friends in town, type thing.
Mm-hmm. Do you get a lot of testimonials from people you help?
I do.
Do you show them off?
Not as much as I should. Thank you for reminding me. I need to do more of that.
Not just written testimonials, video testimonials.
Yeah. I have a couple of video testimonials I'm waiting on right now for my website that Paul had requested, but a lot of people are afraid of video.
Mm-hmm.
you know? And then even if I say, hey, I'll do it with you. And no, they'll be like, no, I'll write something for you though. People are just weird about that. You know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, there's ways though to overcome that, and I'll have to show it to you off air. But
yeah,
you know, I think that you're doing a fantastic job, and you know, I think it's one of those things that people get confused about because, you know, in some areas a realtor is not, you know, a very friendly term.
no,
Like saying, hey, you know, go check the lawyer out. You know, no, I don't want to deal with a realtor or a lawyer. You know, but how do you overcome the stigma of saying, you know, check out the realtor, or, you know, even those new, and I don't know if they have them in Florida, they have them up here, the for sale by owners.
mm-hmm.
Now,
Yeah,
that might not affect your, you know, design build, but it does affect other realtors.
yeah. Well, I don't personally deal with it on a one-on-one basis, but I know it's an amazing way to facilitate listings. I know guys, not personally, but that they make their 6 or even 7 figures a year just on for sale by owners alone. You know, people have this stigma, like you said, of, you know, well, I can sell it myself or whatever, but that would be like saying, you know, I can give myself open heart surgery and, you know, I'm an expert. So that's one of the things, even though it didn't work out with my original mentor and I, you know, he always said, you know, call yourself the real estate expert. It just comes across better than realtor.
Mm-hmm.
And I agree with that. And, you know, real estate consultant, real estate advisor, real estate expert. I just think realtor and real estate agent, like you said, it kind of has some negative connotation to it. So that's why you have to build your brand around, you know, your expertise or logo or trademark, whatever it might be, because you can't just be a realtor.
But right now you're more of a dream builder because you're building people's, you know, new hopes and new dreams and new memories.
Yeah.
And you're not really being a realtor per se anymore.
No, it's completely different. But, you know, there is a certain component to it. But I think you're right. I think it's looked at a little bit differently. Like I am the expert in custom build home building versus a real estate agent, because sometimes they'll come in with their real estate agent. But, you know, if the real estate agent was the recurring cause, meaning, you know, they brought their clients to me because they know that I'm going to take care of them, then, you know, that's value in that real estate agent.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I agree with you.
So, you know, what I'm looking at here is that you have 6,000 competitors, but instead of competing with them, you actually took yourself out of the equation, became a design build agent, and
Mm-hmm.
now you're actually marketing your service to these realtors, which to me has made you better.
100% better. You know, there are agents that will, and that's how I like it, actually. There are agents that will come in the model home and say, hey, this is Lisa, this is so-and-so, do the introduction and go sit on the couch, which is how I like it. Then I'll have agents that think they know everything and then kind of fumble through because, you know, they haven't, and it's my fault because I haven't allowed them to trust me yet with their client, because there is a sort of, I don't want her to appear smarter than me from a lot of these agents, but it's okay because I'm just, you know, I'm the expert in my field. You might be the expert, you know, of resales on the water. You know what I'm saying? So there's a big difference there. So I think as long as everyone knows what their role is, then we'll all get along really, really great.
How do you continue to market to realtors that have a high turnaround or high turnover?
Oh, I really don't market to those people, honestly. I mean, I have probably a list of 100 realtors that I communicate with on a regular basis. I mean, yeah, I want to get the newer folks involved too. And I do have campaigns that go out. I use a system called bombbomb.com. It's the video.
Oh, yeah. Mm-hmm.
So I'll use that with any I have an agent list that I get sent out. Like right now it's tour of homes. So I'll send out a video. Hey colleagues, guess what time of year it is? It's time for tour of homes. I'd love for you to come by the model home. So I do try to attract the newer agents as well, but you know, I can't lasso them and pull them in here. They're going to want to come. So those are the ones and the ones that do come just to preview are the ones that I know want to learn.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And I would encourage every new real estate agent to visit someone from new construction. So, you know, somewhat about what the hell you're talking about when someone wants new construction.
You know, besides Grant Cardone, is there other people, what I call absentee mentors that you love to follow?
Well, I love Joshua Smith. He's a very successful agent. He has a podcast called the GSD mode, Get Shit Done mode. He's an extremely successful agent out in Arizona. I listen to his podcast a lot. Rod Cleef is a super successful real estate investor that lives right here in Sarasota. I listen to his podcast. Who doesn't love Gary Vee?
I like him when he's not cursing.
Yeah. He tends to drop the F-bomb quite a bit. But really, you know, I'm the type of person, I'm pretty committed. I'm committed to Grant Cardone. I'll be honest with you. I'm committed. But, you know, I've always read, I've always read Tony Robbins, Jim Rohn, even Brian Tracy, and even Wayne Dyer for more of like a spiritual type thing, because it's, you know, it's not just about sell. You know, you got to get your mind right, your spirit right, so you can be there for your family and provide and create that legacy that we're all trying to do.
So when you're not working, what do you do?
I read, I listen to podcasts. Most of all, I hang out with my kids. I'm a competitive soccer mom. So I sit on the sidelines a lot. And I'm a soccer mom, probably first and foremost. We're in travel soccer, so that's what I do in my spare time.
When you have it.
When I have it. Yeah, I mean, but I'm reading 3 or 4 books right now, and I got a bad habit of starting a book and then starting another one. So I need to get better at focusing and just finishing one book. You know, but I love being creative. Like I love making my vision boards. You know, sometimes that process can take a couple months to do because, you know, I always leave blank spaces and I try to finish by January 1 or New Year's Day of the following year. So it's all finished. But another important part is the declaration of that vision board, you know, showing it to people, talking about it, because that's part of the visualization process. And quite frankly, people will be like, oh, good luck with that. I'll be like, thanks. You know, so I've always been sort of a creative type person and always wanted to write a book. And so right now I'm writing in my spare time.
So you create a new vision board. You create a new vision board every single year.
I do.
What changes? What changes in between those boards?
Oh, that's a great question. So sometimes I'll take something off. Like I can give you an example. I wanted to go on a mission trip to a different country this year, and that didn't happen. A couple other things. I went to a different country, but it wasn't for that reason. So I look at that and I say, okay, there was a reason why I didn't go there. So now I take that mission trip off and I move it over to 2017. And then I just leave the things on there that I did accomplish. So when I look back, there's the win feeling, right? Oh, I did that, I did that, I did that. I, had my own show with my partner, Ian Power, on Periscope called The Power Hour. That went for 42 weeks. That was one of my goals, to get attention there and to have something consistent and we can have people talk on and be guests on. So it's just kind of that feeling of, okay, I've done that. I got to step it up, right? So, because now my thing for next year is I want a Bentley. So I had my new BMW for this year, which I got. And now next year I'll put my Bentley up there. So it just gets higher on the scale, is all.
A Bentley, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah, your dreams are a little higher than mine, I think.
Why is that?
I don't. I have a Cadillac Escalade, but that's not a Bentley.
But I'm sure you thought about that, Rob, right? For a long time before you bought it. It wasn't just like a,
Oh, that was a whim. Because it was more of a necessity. We needed a big. We had a Suburban, which is very similar.
Uh-huh.
Suburban died, and so we got this Escalade, and I didn't even really think about it. I just bought it,
Yeah.
and my wife liked the color. She said, "Great, it's got navigation, it's got XM, it's got heated seats, it's got everything." And but the thing is that I'm always writing down my goals.
Mm-hmm.
And years ago I wrote down. I guess this was going back in 1999. I had read something from Mark Victor Hansen, Chicken Soup for the Soul guy.
Yeah.
So I wrote 101 goals down, and he said, just mail them to him. I said, okay, fine. I mailed him my goals. A year later, he sends them back to me, and I went through all the goals, and these were supposed to be lifetime goals, and I had already accomplished about 40% of them in 1 year.
Wow.
So, I now have almost 300 goals I keep I just add to it, and when it happens, I go down, put a date next to it, and one of my goals was write a book. Well, now I'm up to what, 6, 7, 8. I've written 8 books so far.
That's incredible.
So, and I got 3 more coming out. So, I think the power of goals really helps. I think the vision boards help, and I think that everybody who's buying a house needs to have a goal in mind. What is this house? Why am I buying this house? What purpose does it serve? Is it my dream home? Is it a transition home? Is it, just because, a spontaneity thing? It's really hard to be spontaneous when you're building a home, but they need to know, is it for personality? Is it for, more of a business home? They need to have a goal, I think, in their outcome of why they're buying the second home.
You're so right about that. And after, a few years of doing this, no one ever really none of my buyers don't need a roof over their head. They're not buying it for that. They're buying it for the feeling, right, of how they're going to feel when their children and grandchildren come, and how they're going to feel when they walk out on the golf course and come back to their house that overlooks the lake or the ocean. It's the feeling, the emotion. It's not the house.
Right. It's their Bentley.
Yeah.
It's that big vision that they have, that they've accomplished something.
Yeah. And it's something that most people, and I say most people dream about. They want to be able to have the freedom, right? Sometimes it's a different model than what you and I envision, but have the freedom to do whatever they want, when they want, without having to shovel snow, without having to, deal with storms or anything of that nature. And it's the idea that's been going on in their head for years and years and years, and now it's finally coming together.
Mm-hmm. So if someone wanted to reach out to you, to learn from you, how do they get a hold of you?
That's a great question. Well, I believe my sellingthemilliondollar.com, my book, it's in pre-launch stage right now, but if they go to that, they can message me there. I'm pretty sure. We're still working on it. And they can get the first 2 chapters of the book for free. And my LisaMarieKennedy.com site is almost finished as well. Or you can just message me on Facebook, Lisa Marie Kennedy. Should I give you all of my handles?
You can if you wish.
I'm mostly Lisa Marie Kennedy everywhere except for Twitter and Instagram.
Yeah, but who gets on Twitter anymore?
You know what? Everything I have goes to Twitter. And it's so weird that you said that, because I was getting a bunch of Twitter messages, and I'm like, ones that have been there for a couple of weeks. I'm like, who's on Twitter all the time? Am I right about this?
Well, I guess Pinterest is dead, right? I mean, not Pinterest. Periscope is dead.
Well, I don't know about that. I don't get on Periscope anymore, but I know a lot of folks that do, that they're still doing good and they're monetizing. So I don't know.
I started a Blab show 12 weeks before it shut down.
Yeah, I loved Blab.
And now they revamped it, and then now it's called Bebo, and it's like, really? That's stupid. Nobody's going to remember that.
Well, Bebo, what exactly does that mean?
I have no idea. That's the problem.
There was really no exclamation of why Blab shut down, was there?
No, they just said they ran their course.
Okay.
And I think that that kind of goes into you're dealing with a lot of older, the older crowd, a little older than me, 55 and older.
I'm younger though, some our age.
But how do you cross over, because a lot of these they're starting to learn this technology now.
Mm-hmm.
All right. And so some of them may not be on Periscope. Some of them may not be on Snapchat. Some of them might not be on YouTube. And I think that's why you have to be everywhere.
Yeah.
Because you're going to catch them where they're, and granted, 80% of the population's on Facebook.
Yeah.
But I don't get a lot of clients from Facebook. I get them from Instagram. I get them from LinkedIn. I get them from YouTube.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I'm glad you brought that up, because I think that's a platform that I probably need to pay closer attention to, is LinkedIn. But I read somewhere that the average income of person on LinkedIn is like $55,000, but that shouldn't matter. My demographics there, right? I mean, you know all this. So yeah, I think my audience is on Facebook, quite frankly.
Well, if a lot of your audience is, maybe retired business owners, entrepreneurs, they're the people that you can find on LinkedIn, because they're all grouped together.
You're right.
They're the movers, the shakers, the CEOs, but the thing is that regardless of what medium you're on, they need to know that they can trust you, that you're going to be there holding their hand the whole way through the process.
Yeah. Yeah.
Exactly. Showing them hair tips and showing them this and showing them that, and just being you.
Yeah.
Because I think that, there's a lot of people out there that can sell homes all day long, and that's great. But at the end of the day, they need to know that you're their friend.
Right. Right. And that's really, really important. And that's why it's important to not just act like you care, but care.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of times if I have two clients at the same time, or, during the same cycle, I'll literally say, I wish I had the time right now. Is it okay if we wait a couple weeks so I can spend more time with you, as opposed to trying to cram them all in together, because they're going to be able to tell if they don't have my undivided attention. And 100% of the time, I would say that they're okay with that.
Right. Now, if someone's from New York or someone's from California and they want to move to Florida, do you do Skype? Do you do Facebook chat? What do you do to get these people to trust you? Because you're in Florida. They're not coming down to Florida right now.
Yeah. Yeah, I probably need to do more of that, to be completely honest with you. I've got folks that maybe have visited last year. I'll follow up with them a few times. We'll have some chats and say, well, we won't be there till next year. I probably need to do a better job of saying, hey, let's get on a video call or FaceTime or whatever it is. I know you're not ready right now. I know you're not visiting right now, but let's try to put a plan together so when you do come, and I do that for the most part, but I don't use video as much as I should.
Do you do a lot of newsletter subscription opt-in type things?
I'm working on it. I'm working on it right now. I don't really haven't really had the tools for that until now. So I've gotten a fantastic web developer. He's going to help me with that.
Yeah, and I think it's very important that when someone comes to you that they're able to, maybe they don't need you right now, but maybe they want to know more information, want to know, hey, how can we get to know this person a little bit better?
Yeah, yeah.
And then, once a month or however frequently you want to send them, hey, this is some of the houses we're building in our areas right now.
Yeah.
Keep us in mind.
Yes, and I need to do more of that. Maybe, with a new model like we have across the street, actually do a little video while I'm over there. Hey, I know you're not coming until January, but I just wanted to get a sneak peek of the model before it's finished type thing. Yeah.
We're running out of time, but I know that, there's probably people out there that are curious. What's the big thing right now in homes? I mean, is it wood floors? Is it stainless steel appliances? Is it skylights? What's the big thing?
Well, the biggest thing right now, Rob, is the wood look tile. So it's, tile that can be like 5x4 or, any different size, shapes, colors, but it's got the durability of tile, but the look of wood. I would say that's the biggest thing. And then the countertop, the biggest thing is quartz. It's a man-made product, doesn't have a whole lot of movement in it. It's got that nice clean look that most people are looking for. But, you still got a percentage of the people that really like their traditional granite and columns and arches and things like that. And so that's why custom is so fantastic. And I always tell real estate agents out there, if you've got clients and they say, I love this house, but, and that's when you know that you should bring them to me, because we can build them whatever they want. If they can dream it, we can build it.
All right. And we'll end with that. And I want to thank you for, spending an hour with me, spending an hour entertaining, my listeners. And, I want anybody who's paying attention to, go to Lisa, to at least check her out, to see what she's doing, because, she is plugging away every day on Snapchat. And even though Snapchat is not one of my favorites, I still get on every now and then. I still plug on it. But, I think that you're embracing technology the way it's supposed to be. You're out there sharing with people, the right way.
Thank you.
And, and what I tell everybody is that she's doing everything that she can to be human. Yes, she makes mistakes. She shared those mistakes with you. She's not going to hide behind those mistakes. When people come to her, she's very open and honest. And that is what's going to make her the best at what she can be. And so if you're watching, be her friend. Go to her Facebook, go to her Snapchat, and go down to Florida and buy her a beer, buy her coffee. and then have her build something for you, because I think that you're going to be very well pleased in the services that she have to offer.
Rob, thank you so much. It was super fun with you today. I appreciate your time too.